Hi, my name is Will Jackson, and today I'm going to be giving a sports marketing proposal for the National High School Basketball Association. I'd like to thank the committee and its members for giving me the opportunity to present my ideas to them, and I hope that my ideas can be used to help promote the brand and really give it a future in youth basketball. I want to say that this organization has a lot of potential already. I've already seen some of the social media posts on Facebook, but I think that there could be a better job done in terms of not just reaching the older demographic on Facebook, but using more social media platforms such as Instagram, Twitter, even Snapchat, in order to reach the younger demographic and make them more aware of the brand as well. Now, I want to say that the focus is not going to be to make this organization similar to other organizations like the Amateur Athletic Union, or AAUs as it comes to be known as. We really want to focus on what the mission of this organization is, which is developing winners and creating futures. Organizations like AAU are fantastic, but they really promote more of the competition aspect of it, whereas we want to promote what the actual mission of this organization will be. We want to use the social marketing mix in order to promote this brand. We're going to use social media, some emerging technologies, advertising, sponsorship, and endorsements in order to really help the brand to grow and make it more aware to the public of what exactly this organization is really all about. So, over the course of the last few years, youth sports participation has been down from the ages of 6 to 12. Now, this is not the demographic we are focusing on for this organization. However, in leading up to those ages of 13 to 18, the ages 6 through 12 are really struggling in terms of participation, and this is hitting 13 through 18. So while we're not going to focus on this, we want to make sure that we're really focusing on using social media in order to promote our brand and to really get participation up for these ages. And, of course, the ages 6 through 12, it really kind of sets up for 13 to 18 and beyond. And also, youth might not get involved in the sport of basketball if they're not interested in it from that age. So it's really going to be important to promote it for those ages 13 through 18 so that they get more involved with it. We want to develop a plan for the organization to move forward, and we don't want it to just be around for this generation. Of course, we want it to be around for many, many generations thereafter. So by developing social media at the local, the regional, and the national levels, we're going to be able to push this organization into its next gear and allow it to be promoted and hopefully make it even larger than AAU and really promote a healthy environment for youth basketball and for youth ages 13 to 18 to not only become better basketball players, but to allow them to become better, more mature, more responsible adults for the future once they pass the age here. So we want to talk about what it's going to look like. We want to restructure the tournaments of this organization. We want to also do some better stuff with the events and do some better stuff with the fundraising in order to help bring some money in for the organization and to really allow it to grow and become more aware in the eyes of the parents as well as the youth. And that is by using social media, that is by using advertisements that we plan to use in more traditional ways, such as the newspaper. Also on television, we're going to focus more on the local level and regional level, and we want to do that the same thing at the national level by promoting it through newspapers, through television, through stuff like that, and hopefully gaining some sponsors and endorsements at not just the local level, but as well as at the national level too. So when we discuss the tournaments and the formats, what we're going to do is we want to focus on having the tournaments be in more of an NBA format when it comes to the league as well as those tournaments that will be participated in. The leagues, we're going to try to have all the teams that are within these chapter leagues to participate, to play each other at least one time over the course of their season. Schedules are going to be done every single weekend. That way it doesn't coincide with a school night or anything like that. We can have a lot of games taking place, and these games will take place at local high schools. We're going to make sure that the high schools that are in these areas are able to promote this organization through sponsorship because we want the format and the rules of these leagues and of these tournaments. We want to have the dimensions of the court be very similar to that of high school, so players are not only developing in our organization, but when they also potentially go play for their high school, they can be well prepared and well ready to do so. So from the league level, teams are going to have to finish above 500%, and by 500% I mean 50, above 500 or above 50%, in order to make it into the local tournament. Now, the 12 best teams at the league level will move on to the local tournament. At the local tournament level, those 12 teams will be broken down into 4 teams of 3, and those 3 teams will each play each other twice for a total of 4 games for each team. And when they play those games, at the end of those games, the top team in the group will move on to the semifinal round. Now, from the semifinal round and the final round, the best teams to win out of those local tournaments will then move on to the regional tournament, and the regional tournament will be the exact same format, but a different qualifier will go to the national tournament. Like I said, regional level is going to be the same as local level. Regional, you're going to have 12 teams, each in groups of 3. They're going to have 4 groups of 3. Winner of those groups will move on to the semifinal knockout stage round, or the single elimination knockout stage round. Winner of the semifinal games will move on to the final game. Final game winner will move on and represent the region at the national level. Now, there are 7 regions that represent this organization, and of those regions, only 1 team from each region is going to go to the national tournament. From there, we're going to have a format to where it's going to be all 7 teams are going to be in one group. Each team will play each other team 1 time in this format. The top 4 teams that qualify out of that group will then move on to the semifinals of that one. And we will do the exact same thing. It'll be a semifinal. Winner of the semifinal games go on to the national finals, the national final game of the tournament, and the winner of that is the national champion. Now, when it comes to sponsoring and endorsing these leagues and these tournaments for this organization, we're really going to try to focus on having regional and local sponsors for those tournaments. We can have national sponsors, such as we want to make sure that since we're hosting the event, we hope to host the event at Madison Square Garden. We want to have Verizon be the national sponsor for that tournament, since their headquarters is in New York City, and we want to have Nike be the sponsor for the jerseys, as well as the basketball and some of the stuff that comes along with being a national qualifier and a national qualifying team, as well as a national qualifying player. So we're going to do that. When it comes to hosting the events and the tournaments that go on, what's going to happen is at the league level, it's going to be these high schools, as well as the local level, it's going to be the high schools that represent. It's going to be the high schools that don't represent, but they are the, what's the word? They're going to be at that level. We want to make sure that they're the sponsors and the endorsers of this organization. So they're going to be hosting those leagues as well as the local tournaments. From there, local qualifiers will then go to the regional tournaments, which will be hosted in each of the chapter cities. So, for example, in the Texas region, you have Dallas and Houston, and every other year is going to be hosted by a different city. So, for example, if it started this year, Dallas would be the host. It would then move on to Houston, and those would each be hosted in different major high schools that are within that region, so that we could house the attendance, house the volunteers, make sure that we had the proper stuff for that. As mentioned earlier, we're hoping to have the national tournament at Madison Square Garden for the national tournament, so that we can really bring national attention to this organization, because having a major tournament at a place like that is really going to gain a lot of attention, hopefully from people. Now, when it comes to promoting the event, we're going to want to do this through Our social media pages, we're going to want to make sure that we do it at all levels of social media, at the local, regional, national levels of the social media that we have for this organization. We're also going to want to make sure that media and advertising is done through local as well as regional and national levels. We're going to have local and regional sponsors for these tournaments, and then national sponsors. As I mentioned earlier, Verizon will be the endorser and the sponsor for the national tournament, and Nike will provide everything from that point out. Now, the budgeting for all of this, we're going to estimate, is roughly going to cost about $1.5 million in order to do. I know that sounds like a lot, just in order to advertise the organization, in order to sponsor it, in order to have the proper stuff there, in order to promote this organization, promote these tournaments and the events that are going on here. We hope that from that point, it's probably gonna take roughly $250,000 in order to help some of those revenue streams come in. But again, the overall cost, we're hoping that it generates enough money. So we're hoping that the estimation for it, we're going to have roughly $250,000 left over for the organization in order to get it into the next year. And again, sponsors are going to be a huge part of making sure that this happens. Events and fundraising that's going to go on within it. We hope to have these local celebrities come out, even national celebrities that are, former NBA stars. We hope to have them involved at the local, regional, and national levels. We hope to maybe even have camps involved. It's going to be interesting to see kind of who we get for those, but we hope to have people that are within those local areas. Like, for example, in Dallas, we hope to get somebody like Dirk Nowitzki to maybe host a camp or to be there to speak to all the youth, so that it can really help build the brand of the National High School Basketball Association and cause it to really gain a lot of fame. Now, the plan starts by starting today. We want to make sure that we start promoting as soon as we finish up here. We want to create social media pages on all those platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, even Snapchat, for the national all the way through the local stages of this organization. By doing that, that's going to take roughly 6 months in order to really build a following for that, by using promotional stuff and really making sure that the social media pages pop. If we can do that, then I think that we can really gain a lot of popularity there. From that point, after 6 months, we hope for the next 3 months that we're starting to gain participation right before we hit into the school year for all of these youth. So hopefully we can gain a lot of participation, a lot of engagement off of social media in order to get youth involved and get them ready for this upcoming season, have them participating throughout the fall and throughout the winter before we head into local, regional, and national tournaments for that point. Now, that's going to take the next 3 months after that initial 6 months of establishing ourselves really as an organization. From that point, we want to make sure that we have the necessary stuff in order, that in case something like what happened last year with COVID-19, we want to make sure that we have the necessary tools in place so that if something like that does happen, that we can easily put it around. So the plan would be for that one is we would probably reduce the numbers of teams. We would keep the sponsors that we have, hopefully, but we would have to reduce the number of volunteers we have. We'd have to reduce some of the events that might go on, just in order to protect the people that we really want to. So we want to make sure that we protect everybody and go through the necessary steps in order to do that. But we will continue to have that tournament because we really want to be able to have a tournament and have youth be able to participate in that tournament. So the events and fundraising, which takes place for those tournaments, it's just going to really become virtual in that case. And it's going to mean that the fundraising will have to take place through online services, which can be done through social media, through our online stuff, and just making sure that it's not only done at the local, regional, and national levels, but that we can do it, just kind of throughout as well as on the website. I'd like to say thank you to the committee again for giving me the opportunity to take this time out of their day and present my ideas in front of them. And like I said at the beginning, I hope that my ideas can be well used and hopefully grow the brand and this organization. Thanks a lot.